This is The Inquiry. I'm Gregory Harms. Welcome to the Thunderdome. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. Tina Turner.
You think I don't know the law? Wasn't it me who wrote it?
How cool is that Tina Turner was in that? So I know I promised that this episode will be about relativism. And the next one will be about relativism. But I wanted to, there's a little bit of thunder. It's raining, so you might hear a little bit of thunder. I want to talk about food today, because I think it's important, the topic of food. So, yeah, we're going to talk about that today. Talk about food in these United States and what's going on and why we're eating so badly and why we're paying the cost with our health, you know. So we're going to do that, and then I'll do the relativism. I know maybe some people are really upset. This is an outrage. I'm gonna do relativism. I'm gonna do it next episode. We'll do it. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna talk about canned asparagus. That'll get you. That's enough to get you to click on it. Yeah, where to start? Yeah, Americans eat badly. Why is that? Well, for one, we've seen the monopolization of food production in the United States. So where you had a wide variety of different companies, meat packing companies, producing the food in this country. Now there's a very small number of companies. You got a small number of meat production companies. You got a small number of, you walk down the cereal aisle and it looks like you got this massive, there's this panoply of brands, and it looks like you've got all this choice, like, oh my God, there's like 1,000 different brands of cereal, But if you look at those boxes and you look at the logo in the upper left-hand corner, maybe, you'll see that there are only a handful of companies producing all that food and all that stuff in the box. I don't know if it's food, and it's all the same. It looks different because the packaging's different. They get different cartoon characters on it and stuff like that, and the graphic design's different. But really look at that cereal and tell me there's a huge difference between, this brand and that brand. I mean, I'm not comparing, grape nuts to Count Chocula, but I think that there's a remarkable amount of continuity in that aisle. And the monopolization of the cold cereal market has been, not the market, but the companies that are producing that cold cereal. There's only a handful of companies doing it, So that has an effect. That has knock-on effects that make their way to you in the doctor's office. Why is that? Because you're eating a lot of corn. I've shown many students the Food Inc. documentary, which they just made a sequel to, which is really good. Food Inc. If you haven't seen it, check out that documentary. They talk about how Americans are stuffing themselves with corn and corn derivatives, and that's the problem. is when you go to, when you go to, 7-Eleven and you get that 5-gallon pail of, pop or whatever, you're drinking corn and you're drinking sugar and you're destroying your health, when you shop on the inside of the grocery store, as Michael Pollan says, you should shop on the outside of the grocery store. Produce, meat, dairy, and the stuff on the inside of the grocery store in the center, the wheat thins and the chips and the 2 liters of soda. That's bad news, And food companies are putting corn derivatives in just about everything, really, peanut butter and, spaghetti sauce and stuff like that. They put it in everything. When you look at the label and you see the ingredients list as, a bunch of words that are nigh impossible to pronounce and you don't know what they mean, and like, oh my God, it reads like a chemistry set. Those are probably corn derivatives. And those are pretty bad news for your health. So corn's cheap. So food companies just find reasons to, they can buy it for next to nothing. They can purchase corn for below the cost of production. And then they just, because the corn is cheap, because the government artificially keeps corn cheap, they just put it in everything, They hire chemists and scientists to manipulate that corn, which is a very versatile material, and you can turn it into just about anything. And they put it in just about everything. So pretty much stay out of the center of the grocery store and shop on the outside of the grocery store. Produce, there's no sticker on the carrots saying they're good for you. The wheat thins, they tell you how great they are. Low in fat and high in this and low in this and high in that. That's the wheat thins. That's stuff in a box. The chips, the whatever. If it tells you it's good for you, it's probably not. There's no sticker on the broccoli or the apples or whatever. They're not telling you how good they are for you. And they're probably better for you. And humans have been eating those items forever. And, yeah. How long have humans been eating wheat thins? How long have humans been eating Takis? I don't know why anyone would want to eat a Taki. I had some students tell me they're wonderful. So I bought a bag. I ate 3 of them. And then I couldn't get that film out of my mouth. They're really profoundly awful. And it's not food. It's something new. It's something that's made in a laboratory. It's something that was made in a factory. And it's, it can't compete with broccoli. Because humans have been eating broccoli for forever, like I said, and with no trouble. People have been eating Takis for about 5 minutes, and they're not good for you. They're not the ingredients list on a bag of Takis is horrifying. As are the Takis. So, yeah, I just, and you're probably gonna spend more on groceries, if you're buying better, quality stuff, you're buying produce and meat and dairy, you probably spend more on groceries, but you should be eating less. And if you leave all that stuff on the shelf, the 2 liters of soda, the TV dinners, you make your own spaghetti sauce so you can leave that on the shelf, your grocery bill will go down. I think it'll be net negative. It'll be your overall grocery bill should go down because you should be buying less by putting fewer items in the cart, and you're leaving all that stuff on the shelf. It's really not that cheap. I mean, this breakfast cereal's not that cheap. The bags of junk food and snacks and salted snacks and so on, that stuff's not cheap. It seems cheap, per item, but it adds up, and it's not that cheap. And furthermore, if you're stuffing yourself full of corn derivatives, we have to consider the long-term costs of eating like that and trips to the doctor. And this stuff can get very expensive very quickly. Type 2 diabetes is not a cheap way to go about your life. So there are hidden costs that are not visible at the grocery store. They'll come later when the doctor bills start piling up. So you got to take that into consideration as well. So the monopolization of the system, corn, that's a problem. In 1977, I think it was, there was a Senate Special Committee on Nutrition, headed up by George McGovern, and they concluded correctly that that Americans, which are humans, should eat less meat. They found that cultures that eat less meat tend to do better in the health department. So they said Americans should eat less meat. Well, the beef industry went nuts, and George McGovern had a number of cattle ranchers among his constituents, and they went ballistic, and so they pushed back. The industry pushed back, and then the Senate Special Committee and the government caved to the industry's interests, and then they revised their suggestion that instead of suggesting Americans eat less meat, they suggested Americans choose meats lower in saturated fats. And this set in train a whole set of industry priorities about nutrition, about the things in the food. And that's why the box at the grocery store, the box of wheat thins or whatever, I'm picking on wheat thins, but there are other things, that have like those suggestions and the bragging and the promotion of how good this food is, how low in fat it is, how high in fiber it is, how no trans fats and so on and so forth. The food that's bad for you, like I said, is telling you how good it is for you, and meanwhile, the cucumbers and the broccoli, they don't say anything. There's no stickers on them telling you how good they are for you. So that's why nutritionism. Americans started, and this created a small catastrophe, if not a medium-sized catastrophe, because I'm old enough at age 53. I'm old enough to remember in the 80s, the priority became eating food that was low in fat. Well, carbs are low in fat. So people started stuffing themselves with carbs. They're like, oh, I can eat a potato, I can eat pasta, I can eat whatever, anything starchy and loaded with carbohydrates. Then Americans just started stuffing themselves with carbohydrates because they thought, well, it's low in fat. And that's a problem too. And then people started putting on weight, people started having heart attacks, and people's health went sideways, and yeah, you can't do that because that's not the issue. The issue isn't necessarily. I mean, it's better, yes, on balance, to eat a lower fat diet, but this does not mean that if a food is low in fat that it's automatically good for you. And so Americans just ran to whatever food seemed to like come with no consequences. That wasn't bad for you. A potato wasn't bad for you. Not that potatoes are necessarily nefarious foods, but Americans were stuffing themselves with carbs. And then that had effects, really negative effects, in terms of weight gain and heart disease and so on and so forth. So the issue is eating less meat on top of it. I think Thomas Jefferson said meat should be treated as a condiment. He didn't say condiment. He said something. What did Thomas Jefferson say? Just a small piece of meat, not this big honking steak on your plate, but a small piece of meat amidst a number of other items on your plate, and they should be modest portions, and it should be a variety of foods, heavy on the vegetables, if anything. So there's that consideration too, the birth of nutritionism, and I'm pulling some of this from the work of Michael Pollan, whose work is fantastic. I highly recommend seeking out his books and interviews and so on. He's in both documentaries, Food Inc. and Food Inc. 2. He does fantastic work. His books are short, they're easy to read, they're very informative. He's a very clear writer. Yeah, he does it right. Books are short. The books of nonfiction should be short and easy to read, and clear. And he's a very clear writer. He also published an essay called "Unhappy Meals" in the New York Times in 2007. I would definitely seek that out as well. Read that essay, "Unhappy Meals" by Michael Pollan, Pollan. That essay is the one is an education, and it's not like, I get a number of students who say, when they watch Food Inc., they're like, "I'm going to become a vegetarian," which is fine. Become a vegetarian, just do it sensibly and know what you're doing. But I don't think that's the point of the documentary, and I don't think that's the point of adjusting our approach to how we eat in this country. I don't think you have to become a vegetarian. I'm not a vegetarian. I was for a number of years, many years ago. I did it badly. I like a hamburger and french fries as much as the next person, but as a treat. And I think that's another problem, is the fast foodization of the American diet, that we eat fast food on a regular basis. It's not some treat you get on a Saturday afternoon, like you're out running errands and you get a hamburger and french fries. You eat. Now Americans are eating fast food. That's like a food group. It's a food group. You live at Burger King, the king, the clown, and the colonel. Those have become food groups, and we live at McDonald's and we live at Burger King and wherever else. That's a problem because you're eating, a lot of carbohydrates. You're eating a lot of fat. You're eating a lot of French fries. That's a lot of fat. They're all fried. Those are fried. Obviously, it's in the word. Then you're washing it down with sugar. And then Americans can't figure out why they're putting on a weight and dying of heart disease and diabetes. Well, that's part of the problem. Is the fast food craze. Those things have become a food group, and that's dangerous. That's not good for your health. So there's nothing wrong with getting a hamburger and French fries. Nothing wrong whatsoever. But Americans need to cool it. It's not a food group. You should be eating a lot more vegetables. You should be eating, and I tell students, like, because they're students and they're young and they probably haven't spent a lot of time in the kitchen. But I urge students to get in the kitchen, to learn how to cook. And you can do it. I mean, it just takes a bit of confidence. You go in the kitchen, you can bring your tablet with you, bring your iPad with you, and learn how to dice an onion. Learn how to roast a chicken. Learn how to make spaghetti without murdering it. Learn how to make your own spaghetti sauce, so you don't have to be you don't have to be relying on that awful stuff in the jar. Spaghetti sauce in a jar it's gross. It's a failure. So make your own, and then you know what's in there. If you make your own spaghetti sauce, you know what went into the spaghetti sauce. If you buy that crap in a jar, you don't know what's in there. There's all kinds of words in the ingredients list. You don't have those items in your kitchen. I guarantee it. Just make your own spaghetti sauce. It's not hard. It doesn't take much longer to make. It just takes a few minutes to make spaghetti sauce. You don't got to slave away in the kitchen for hours. It's a pretty quick process, and you get a better spaghetti sauce, and you get a spaghetti sauce that you'll appreciate. And I tell students that when you start cooking, you'll start eating better, because you'll start paying closer attention to ingredients, like this olive oil is better than this olive oil, and these tomatoes are better than those tomatoes, and this lettuce is better than that lettuce. You'll start paying closer attention, and you'll start eating better, and you'll learn how to make a salad. And a salad is not just drowning iceberg lettuce in ranch dressing. That's another failure. Learn how to make a salad. Experiment with different lettuces. Try putting fruit in there. Try putting nuts in there. Try putting all kinds of. There's recipes online, for God's sake. There's recipes. There's tons of videos and recipes teach you how to make a good salad. And salad can become an art. Salad making can become an art. Two things that I recommend right off the bat for people who want to start learning more about salad making is walnut oil and champagne vinegar. Those two, that's a winning combination right there. Now the walnut oil, yes, it's a little expensive. It's a lot expensive. Champagne vinegar is just vinegar. Not too bad. But the walnut oil is a little spendy, and but you should be buying less stuff. So with the money you're going to save by not buying that frozen lasagna at Jewel or Meyer or whatever, you can spend on walnut oil. Yeah, don't buy the frozen lasagna. Just learn how to make a lasagna. Now, making lasagna is a little more labor intensive than making a spaghetti sauce, but you get a better lasagna and you get a lasagna you can be proud of, and you know what's in it. Look at the ingredients list on the frozen lasagna you got from Jewel or Meyer or whatever's near you. Again, it's a horror show, you know, that ingredients list, and then those ingredients will not be in the lasagna that you made, because you put the ingredients into the lasagna, and you know what's in there. So I would do that. Yeah, walnut oil and champagne vinegar. So good. That's a winner right there. Throw in some goat cheese. Try some different lettuces. Leave the head of lettuce, the head of iceberg lettuce at the store. Experiment with some different lettuces. Cut up some apples and throw that in there. Some walnuts. Yeah, there's a whole world of salad making that's just waiting for you to explore. It doesn't have to be iceberg lettuce drowned in ranch dressing. Awful. And yeah, it just takes a bit of confidence going into the kitchen. Also, you don't need a lot of gimmicks, or not gimmicks, gadgets. You don't need a lot of, you don't need a block with, 50 knives in it. You don't need 50 knives. You need a few knives. I've got some here. I learned of this brand from Anthony Bourdain, the late Anthony Bourdain.
I hate mascots. You know they fart in those suits.
TV travel guy and chef and author, Anthony Bourdain. This brand is called Global, and this is the brand. He turned me onto this, not personally, but he turned me onto Global knives, and that's all I use now, and I have not looked back. They are nice, well designed. They're light, they're comfortable, they're easy to use. They easy to clean. The nice hard Japanese vanadium steel, so they hold an edge, not like the German brands and Chicago Cutlery and so on, which have a higher carbon content and require more maintenance. These are pretty low maintenance knives. So an 8-inch chef knife, there you go. 8-inch chef knife, you can do most of what you do in the kitchen with an 8-inch chef knife. Now these are expensive, don't get me wrong. I mean, they're not crazy expensive, but they're I think more expensive end of the spectrum. But this thing's gonna last the rest of your life, and if you take care of it, it'll last forever. And yeah, you can do, like I said, you could do most of the jobs in the kitchen with this thing. Really, I mean, 8-inch chef knife by Global. I'll put the link to the place where you can buy Global knives. It's a Japanese outfit called Sointu, I think it is, Sointu. This is a Santoku blade. You can see the scalloped edge. Okay, this is good for chopping vegetables and stuff. You don't need one of these, but they're handy to have. Santoku blade. You might get a 3-inch paring knife. This is very handy, 3-inch paring knife. And then I forget how many inches this guy is. A little longer, slicing knife. And then this is it. This is all and you don't really even need the Santoku. The Santoku. I just bought this because it looks cool and they're very handy for chopping vegetables and stuff. But you don't need it. Anything you can do with the Santoku, you can do with the 8-inch Global, with the 8-inch chef knife. And then the 3-inch paring knife, and then something a little longer, and then that's it. That's all you need for knives. 3 knives. And really, if you really want to you can just get by with 2. You can just get the 8-inch chef knife and the 3-inch paring knife, and you can do, probably about 90% of what you can do what you're going to do in the kitchen with those 2 knives. You get the longer slicer, this guy. Whoop, jeez, I'm making a lot of noise. Well, you know, there's a neurological story there. This longer slicer is really handy for doing stuff. What? For like, you know, deboning and whatever. You can. This is pretty handy. But you don't really need it. Like, you don't need the Santoku blade. Also, what else? I know they're all the rage, and I know affluent people love buying those Le Creuset pots, the Dutch ovens or whatever, and they're enameled, they're covered in enamel, they're very pretty, and they look nice, and it's a way for affluent people to dazzle their guests, and they are it's cast iron, folks. It's cast iron with enamel on it. I don't know if you know much about cast iron, but cast iron, wait for it, is cast iron. It is what it is. And so, yes, Le Creuset stuff is very pretty, and it's very nice, and it's really expensive, and it's ridiculous. Just, I'll put the link in the description with the Sointu outfit that sells the global knives at its best price I can find. You can just go to for cast iron ware. You can go to Lodge, 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 and I have a cast iron skillet right here. Look at that. Look at that little number. Now, they're heavy as hell. I mean, they're not. I mean, this is heavy. Good thing I'm really strong. I don't think this is a Lodge, so this skillet's kind of making a liar out of me. But this is a cast iron skillet. Like, that needed to be pointed out. What the hell what am I doing? So, but Lodge is a good brand. I've got a number of Lodge. I got a Lodge Dutch oven. I got some Lodge skillets. This happens to not be a Lodge, but the Lodge looks just like this because it's cast iron. And yeah, they are heavy, but whatever. This thing will last you. Your grandkids will use this skillet. Your great grandkids will use this skillet. It'll last forever. And the nice thing about the Lodge stuff is, the nice thing is that they come pre-seasoned, so you don't got to do anything to it. You can just take it out of the box and away you go. You know, start making an omelet, start cooking up some bacon or whatever. You know, and just go easy on the bacon, but bacon is good. Yeah, you don't need to. But then if you want to re-season it, oh boy, should I go into that? You can find videos on YouTube how to re-season your cast iron. I mean, you shouldn't have to really re-season it much, if at all. If you're using it on a regular basis, you're cooking with it, you'll keep it seasoned. And then the nice thing about these things is no soap. When you're done, hot water and a stiff brush, and that's it. Hot water, stiff brush, scrub it. You can put it in the oven for a short while and dry it out nice, or just make sure it's good and dry and hang it up, and you're done. You're done. Now, I also use carbon fiber, not carbon fiber, for Pete's sakes. Carbon steel skillets. I use carbon steel skillets, and those require seasoning when you get them, when they're brand new. You got to season those. But the Lodge cast iron stuff, you don't gotta season. You can just take it out, like I said, take it out of the box and get to work. Hot water, stiff brush, and you're done. So yeah, you don't gotta get a carbon steel skillet fry pan unless you want one. And there's seasoning. It's kind of fun. You use potato peels and oil, and then you just like fry the potato peels until they're burnt, and then you're basically done. It's kind of neat. You can go on YouTube, and there's plenty of videos that teach you how to season a carbon steel frying pan. So that's all you really need. A couple knives, some decent cookware. I would recommend using cast iron for most of the stuff you're gonna do, and leave the Le Creuset. Leave the Le Creuset to, the affluent people trying to dazzle their guests with their pretty cookware. It's nonsense. I wouldn't waste the money. You'll find Lodge to be much cheaper and just as good and just as effective, and it might not be as pretty, but it's the same bloody thing. It's a cast iron pot. Just the Le Creuset is, and then Lodge even, they sell some enamel covered stuff, so you can buy Lodge pots that are pretty. If that's, if that floats your boat, then yeah, if you want to buy a Dutch oven that's enamel covered and looks nice and comes in different colors and stuff, all right, then, you do you. You can do it. You can go to Lodge and pay a fraction of the price that you're going to pay for the Le Creuset. What's next on my hit list? Grocery stores. Where do I shop? Well, I don't know if we're supposed to use the term anymore, but it's just us. I go where ethnic grandmas shop. I go where the Pakistani grandma shops. I go where the Korean grandma shops. I go where the Indian grandma shops. I go where the Mexican grandma shops. That's where I go. I go where they go. Why? Because they know what they're doing. Whole Foods. The only reason to set foot in Whole Foods, as far as I'm concerned, is to visit. They do have a pretty rock and roll cheese counter. I'll give them that. The cheese counter at Whole Foods is pretty disco. But other than that, I don't. What's at Whole Foods? High prices, and again, it's for affluent people trying to impress their guests. The Pakistani grandma and the Korean grandma and the Mexican grandma, they're not trying to dazzle their guests. They're just trying to cook good food, and they know what they're doing. So I would go where they go. I'd go to, well, it's hard to say because I don't know where you live. If you live in the suburban Chicagoland area, if you're down, by me, I would try Caputo's or Tony's. Those are two good grocery stores. There's also north of Naperville in Illinois. There's north on the north end off Ogden. There's a place called Super H, or H Mart. I call it Super H, but I don't know if that's the name. I think it's just called H Mart. And at any rate, H Mart. I don't know why I call it Super H. It is Super H, isn't it? I gotta check. At any rate, it is bigger than a jewel. It's huge, and it's East Asian. It's all Korean. It's all Chinese. It's all, it's fantastic. It's just a wonderland. And go on a weekend for the free samples, because they ain't handing up Tombstone pizza, folks. You can basically eat lunch walking around H Mart on a Saturday. Plus, they got a food court that is really outstanding. They got a Filipino joint. They got a Vietnamese place. They got you can get a nice bowl of noodles. It's fantastic. Yeah, go to H Mart. if there's one near you. Or if there's a big Asian grocery store near you, just check it out. So, but that's where I go. That's where I shop. There's a small Indian grocer near Caputo's on 59 111th if you're in the area. There's a tiny Indian grocery store called Krishna Mart, and it's run by a man who's I just think the world of him, and he's very helpful, and he's got everything. And when you start to, as I did, start to conquer, I was always intimidated to cook Indian food. I was always like, oh God, I can't do that, But then I'm like, all right, I need to just grow up and learn how to cook Indian food. It can't be that hard. And it's not that hard. Here's the thing about Indian cooking is you got your list of ingredients. And 2/3 of the list, if not 3/4, is spices. And then like the thing you're cooking, like Arab cooking, is the same kind of thing. The thing you're cooking is not particularly complex. You're cooking some kind of garbanzo beans, some kind of meat, some kind of this or that, or chickpea, or not chickpeas, lentils or whatever, cauliflower. The thing you're cooking is not hard, not complex, but that list of ingredients is really intimidating. And when you start working down the list of spices, rather, you'll find that you're like, what the hell? I don't even have half of this. And that's the problem. Is like you start going through the list of spices, and you're like, what is asphodelic powder? What is mustard oil? You bump into all these sort of strange spices and ingredients, and you go to. So I went to Krishna Mart. It was like I said, a very tiny place, and he's got everything. He's got everything, and so I just went crazy in there and bought up asphodelic powder, also known as hing powder. He's got that. He's got mustard oil. He's got the masalas. He's got everything. And you learn. You acquire all these spices, and then you learn what they do, and then you can cook Indian food. And it's really something special. When you make masoor dal or you make chana pindi, you'll forget all about a whopper. You'll forget all about the clown or the king or the colonel. It'll be in the rearview mirror. You just forget about them. That stuff will be a whole lot less appealing when you've made a successful masoor dal or chana pindi or something like this. It's just the world. It's so good. And then Burger King will all of a sudden lose tremendous amount of appeal. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Burger King. I'll eat a Whopper and enjoy it. I got guilty pleasures. Everyone knows I love Taco Bell. That's not a secret. Everyone knows I like White Castle. That's not a secret. I like Sonic. Love me some Sonic. But I don't live at those places. I just go once in a while and have a guilty pleasure, and I got to scratch that itch, and I'm like, yep, today is for Taco Bell. And I go to Taco Bell, and I go in focused, I go in hard, and with my head held high, today's the day. But then, you can't go back the next day. You can't just live there, So, And then also, when it comes to grocery stores, if you're new to this whole endeavor and you're learning how to cook, and you go into places that are maybe have different types of produce or whatever, talk to people. I know that See, I'm in the company of college students 5 days a week, so they don't want to talk to anybody, especially strangers. But I do. I've learned so much in grocery stores because I'll just walk up to the Pakistani lady or the Indian lady, and she's buying like a, a big bitter lemon, or a bitter lemon. And I'm like, what are you gonna do with that? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you. I've learned so much by just asking, what are you gonna do with that? How do you cook that? And then you better have some time on your hands because they're gonna answer your question. I watched a guy. I like making roasted chestnuts in the winter. I think it's a very cozy, nice thing to make. You just spread them out on a baking sheet with some salt and bake them in the oven. Just wonderful. But I just like grabbed the scoop and filled the bag like a knucklehead. And I'm watching this older guy. I would guess him to be Persian, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where he's from. But he was like, look, he was 90 years old, and I would guess him. I would guess he was Persian. And I'm watching him, and he's going through the chestnuts like they're gems. I'm just watching him, and I'm like, that guy knows something I don't. So I went over and I asked him. I said, I couldn't help but notice you're inspecting each one. I just fill the bag with the scoop. I'm like, you must be looking for something. He's like, oh yes. So he put on a master class on how to pick out chestnuts. And now I don't grab the scoop anymore like a knucklehead. I do what he does, and I know what to look for now because I walked up to that guy and talked to him, and it must be strange. A guy who looks like me approaching, the Pakistani grandma or the Persian old man, and they're like, and you're interested. You're like, what are you gonna do with that? What are you doing? How do I pick out a chestnut? You got to talk to people. You got to ask questions, and you can learn a lot in a grocery store if you decide to talk to people, which I highly recommend. I've learned quite a lot about cooking and about different ingredients and about different produce items and so on, just by opening my mouth and talking to people and asking questions. And they're delighted to. I've never had anybody just be like, "Get away from me," I've never had that before. There's always a big smile, and yeah, people just they're happy to tell you what they're up to, what they're doing, how to cook this item, whatever it is. It's not hard. Just learn how to cook. Just a few knives, a cast iron skillet, and you're off you go. Off to the races. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I've been watching. I'm a little late because I think it came out over a year ago. The season 6, the latest season of The Crown. I don't even know why I'm watching that. I'm not interested. But I'm glued. I'm glued to that series. But I don't really care about the royal family. I know people have really strong opinions. They don't like them. They love them. The people tend to burn pretty hot in one direction or the other. I just don't. I just don't care. I do sort of marvel at how people who live in total luxury, whose lives are a Ralph Lauren ad, and they're always bummed out, and they're always disappointed and upset about something. I think that's rather instructive. It's like if I lived in a castle and people drove me around in a Rolls Royce, I'd be smiling like an idiot. But they're just like, They're just so bummed out and disappointed all the time. So I think that's kind of funny. But I really like the series. And I'm like, oh God, it's pathetic. It's like, I'm really hoping that William, and Kate get together, and I'm like, they do. They get together, and there I am watching the show. I'm like, oh, she doesn't want him to leave uni. She sends him that text at the in late night text, don't leave uni. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, what? You're pathetic. They get married. You know the story. You know what happens. But I can't help it. I get sucked in. Oh, one series I really like that it's so good that I think you should watch is the Residence.
I am going to be dead by the end of the night.
I mean, it's just something people say.
I've never said that. Has anyone here ever said I'm going to be dead by the end of the night?
Yeah, the one time I went camping, I said that.
It's fantastic. There's a murder in the White House, and the detective Cornelia Cupp is just Uzo Aduba. She is wonderful, and yeah, you gotta watch the Residence. It's a fantastic series. It's a mini series. I don't think it's gonna be an ongoing thing. I think there's just 8 episodes and just one and done. But it's really worth watching. Check out The Residence. Yeah, it's really good. The Crown, I don't know if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not, but I like it. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm sucked into that. I just am. It's a good show. I mean, the acting and the writing are solid. It's just the subject matter is. I don't really, it's not much there for me. So yeah, that's it. Go make an omelet, or go, learn how to boil pasta so you don't turn it into mush, and learn how to make a salad, and come up with different ways of making a salad. You make a salad. Salad construction can be very interesting, and you can get kids to eat vegetables. Part of why little Kyle doesn't like vegetables is because his mother probably boils and murders them, and Kyle's not wrong. It's just that his mother sucks at cooking. I think that's the problem. So you could get kids to eat vegetables. You can. It's possible. Like, oh, my Zach, he's a picky eater. No, you made Zach a picky eater. You've encouraged it. And now Zach will only touch a chicken nugget. That's your fault. That's a parenting failure, and the picky eater thing, that's a parenting failure too. You can get kids to eat vegetables. I've done it myself, but they're not your kids. Yeah, I know. My experiences with children are illegitimate because they're not my children. It's different when they're your own. Okay. Nevertheless, I've gotten 6-year-olds to eat octopus. I don't eat octopus anymore, but I've cooked many octopi, and I got a 6-year-old to eat octopus and vegetables and all kinds of stuff. And I've gotten multiple young children to eat vegetables and try different things, and it's just a matter of having the kids spend more time in the kitchen and make them part of it, and then it's not torture. And the vegetables are cooked well. They're prepared well. They're not boiled into submission. Yeah. So then the next episode will be on relativism, for sure. Yeah, I promise. Yeah, unless I change my mind again. I don't think I will. Yeah, relativism next on The Inquiry.